Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Hello. Welcome to the show. 5:30 Wednesday show. 4:30 my time, actually. Whoop, whoop. How are you doing today? How are you doing? Must be excited. Must be going crazy. I have, I have a few people here coming in chat, joining us, just chilling out. But I want to know how you guys are doing. You guys want to hang out? Let's hang out. Let's be awesome together. Be awesome together. Let's see, let's share a screen. Let's share a window. What's up, James Willis? Something I've been working on right here. Johnny Zer, what's up? You guys doing today? Yeah, making this animated frame for the bolt. I think I'm going to animate the lights. Trying to figure out, just showing off what I've been working on. Boop. Looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Looks pretty cool. I don't know if that's something you've been interested in watching me do lots of tedious little work. Stop the screen. You guys having a good time tonight? Tonight is a good day. Today is nice and warm outside. You could do a lot today if you have the energy and want and will to do it. It is a Wednesday chat and chill session. Just chat, chill, live, be kind, be awesome. If you got any questions or have something you want to say, let me know in chat. Or if you're a friend of the channel and want to join in and talk with me, you can. You can. That'd be cool. Got a cat staring at a door because he feels the temperature of the door. You know, there's something outside called heat. Interesting. That's how warm outside it is. How warm. So, I just came in here to chat with everybody, see how everybody's doing. Keep up the 4:30 slot going. So when Prime ever gets a chance to come back to the show, we'll have Prime back. Or we might just fill it up with something different. I just want to chill, relax with you. Be awesome. Yeah. You was thinking about running around the block? Pretty sure you were. Chasing that cat away, huh? Like it's a stray cat. It goes switch some cards around in a couple of my decks. Ah, nice. Yeah, sometimes you gotta switch a couple cards around. Sometimes you gotta switch a couple cards around. Yeah. Let's see. There you go. Sometimes cards work better in other decks than some other decks. Like that, cards work in one deck where they don't work in another deck as well as you think they would or hope they would. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh man, I can't believe like how warm it is today. At the top of my head has perspiration. The perspiration. It's like precipitation. I don't know the right word. It's sweaty. That's all I can say. It's sweaty, kind of sweaty. It's weird. The nice thing I don't have hair is when the air shifts around, I feel it. It feels cooler. But people with hair don't get that luxury. Yeah. So thinking of bright ideas today. Have you guys been creative today? Been creative at all? Been thinking about something creative? It's been an interesting day at the house. Been doing chores, switching in and out, going around, being cool. Trying to keep things up the pace, up the mark. Made dinner. We had hot dogs and we had chili dogs and macaroni and cheese for dinner tonight. Yum. It's like a picnic dinner almost. Yeah, picnic dinner. All right. I'm trying to think. Thinking of magic cards today. Magic has so many cards in the world today. And I was thinking the crazy part was since we got cards that were numbered, serialized cards, right? We have serialized cards in the market, and you pull one and you keep it, and someone else pulls one and they keep it, and someone pulls it, whatever it is. One person will not be able to have a complete set of a set anymore that has serialized cards because not all serialized cards will be there. Or in a certain case, someone rips one when they play Flip It or Rip It, which happened. I thought it was hilarious. So someone ripped a card and there was a serialized card. I'm like, oh, you probably feel bad now. Card worth like a couple $100. Now down the drain. It was insane. It was crazy. It's just a chill day here today, everybody. Thank you for liking the video, checking it out. Oh. But yeah, so I think it's funny that serialized cards exist in a way right now. Like if you think about it in the way that one person will never have a complete set of the format anymore because serialized cards exist. Even though they're like separate from the set, but they're part of the set. They can be pulled in packs. You know, that was interesting. It was really nice to take a break from work and Subway Show. It was a needed break from shenanigans. Thank you, Bob. Thank you. That was awesome. Right now we're just chatting, chilling, just vibing, just for an hour till like 5:30. If you guys want to stop by and chat, you can. I think serialized cards are bad in the way they are implemented. Yeah. I think is a weird direction to go for sure. I like the idea of serialized cards in one aspect. Like, hey, now you can have this very specialized card, even though they've overprinted some, like for what a serialized card is, like 500. But now you can't get a full complete set. Like when someone ripped up one of a serialized card out of Karlov Manor. What happened there? Not Karlov Manor. Ravnica Remastered. They could be if the ecosystem was in a healthier place. They are predatory in my opinion. Well, it is predatory. And I don't mean that in the most degenerative of ways, but like they create serialized cards because I know people will want to chase them to have them, at least have or a couple. It's a way to dig in someone's wallet even deeper. Yeah. Well, if you're home, bud. I've said many direction changed for WotC 4 years ago. Killed MTG collecting as we all know it for 25 years. It's definitely transformed collecting. It's definitely transformed the nature of the beast. Like you're not collecting just to collect anymore. They're giving a purpose without reason. They're like, here's a purpose to collect, but there's no reason to collect. When you have like five to 20 copies of Chromatic Lantern. Oh, hello. Hello.
Sorry, I got to mute the.
You're good.
Pause it instead of muting it. No, I agree. I agree with you. I think that they've transformed it is a. I think what do you want to call it? A sugar coated word.
Yeah.
It almost feels like a bait and switch. You know, we've been doing this for 25 years. Surprise! Right. You know, it's for no apparent reason. It didn't. I don't know if you were looking at like the profits of Magic the Gathering year over year up till 2018. Mm-hmm. It was a profitable thing that was moving up at a steady, healthy 5% a year clip.
Right.
With the
Right.
method they did it. And it's like, because of what's his name? Not Jake Paul, but his brother. The one that did the Pokemon. Logan Paul, right? Because he did that Pokemon thing, which is what kicked TCGs into overdrive. You know, I don't know if that was pre-COVID or during COVID, but
it's mixed in there somewhere.
It's in that time frame, right? And that was something that they said, oh, let's jump on this bandwagon, right? And that's when they started making collector boxes and set boxes, and let's, instead of making the, in case you don't remember, like to rewind, going back and rewinding the clock,
right,
full art cards or borderless cards, that was a box topper event only, right? It was meant to be more in line with what the masterpieces originally were, and very special, sprinkled in kind of cards,
right?
And that's when they just said, all right, just rip the lid off, let's make everything special all the time, everywhere. And the problem is they've exhausted that sort of limitations of the things that they can do, and now we're just even starting to see sort of recycling amongst the sets of, oh, we'll do special bordered, we'll do art card, the special artist rendition of cards, we'll do the, I don't even, what do they call that set, the supplementary set, that the bonus sheet, they call it now. It's like they have essentially just turned the bucket upside down rather than pulling things out steadily to just keep a nice, healthy, steady pace going.
Hello, Cosmic Seeds. No, you're right. Because like I remember when they introduced full arts. I don't remember the exact time frame, but I remember when they first came out, and I thought they were cool, and they were box toppers, or they were treated like the treasures and sets. I can't think of the expeditions. They're treated like expeditions where you can pull a fancy version of a card. But they definitely, when they did collector boxes, like went overload and said, let's normalize full art cards. Let's normalize these fancy versions if you pay the right amount, right? You can get possible variants in the draft box at the time. But the collector box is like, well, if you pay the extra, you get less packs. But boom, look at all this bling you get, and
foils too.
Right.
Let's not forget that the collector boxes is where it started with. I mean, realistically, with the absolute oversaturation of foils.
Right. And on top of that, right, not only did collector boxes do well because of what they were, they started becoming the norm. And set boxes, when they came out, started becoming the norm. And set boxes, collector boxes, people were buying, and just blew with out of the water. They didn't expect it to be so popular at the beginning, like as well as it did, compared to how well they thought it was going to be. And then people were just negating the draft box, and people were hunting down those special cards, those rare cards in the rarer, more expensive sets, and they started overprinting those. And people were going crazy for them, and people were loving them. And somewhere, and you were one of the first in line to bring this up in our community, but somewhere in the line, the community consciousness went from, wait, this super collectible value item just made everything common.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna say this now. Mark my words, well ahead of time. Here's a tinfoil hat, Bob. Is that what DJ used to say all the time?
Right.
That I've always said that diminishing draft boxes or getting rid of them, which they did, and it was faster than I thought they would.
Right.
Is a mistake. And I think at some point there'll be this, oh, we're moving in better directions, and they're going to sell going back to draft boxes, right?
Right.
And I think what they'll do is they'll do it, but they'll raise the price of it, right? Like every move that they're trying to make is trying to squeeze every potential penny out. And that's at least at a minimum the way that the buying audience feels by and large.
Right.
I don't think any buying audience that hasn't said, oh, no, they're just, making normal inflationary changes, that it feels very much like they're doing absolutely everything in their power to squeeze out every possible penny. And you can do that. Like if you've ever served at a restaurant or something, you can try to squeeze every extra penny. I sold tires once upon a time, and you could potentially squeeze extra pennies out of this sale here right now while they're at the
Right.
counter. Or if you make them feel like they're getting a good deal, they'll come back. Because if you squeeze every penny out now, they tend to leave because it just is a bad taste. And so I think that they're probably with their, but I don't know if you want to call it like a business model that they're using now, is that they're going after that, well, they're in front of us right now mentality. Magic player stays 2 to 3 years and they're out. I think they're going to shorten that lifespan, especially with Universes Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because those people that came in for just the Lord of the Rings and were Lord of the Rings fan, well, we haven't had another Lord of the Rings set, and they'll figure that out sooner than later. Same thing with Fallout, same thing with Warhammer 40K. You know, they're not going to keep reprinting these IPs.
Well, the IPs feel like they're for short-term gain anyways.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. And the problem is they've superseded their own IP by going so heavy into the Universes Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And
now we're getting 2 a year now, from I believe.
What's that?
We're getting 2 Universes Beyond sets a year now, I believe.
Okay, but just expecting everybody to love Universes Beyond as an IP, which it's not, you know, Magic is an IP, right? But they're supplanting their own IP, leeching off of other successful IPs.
Right. Well, I think what's happening, and it's the only thing I can claim to say, be one of the first to say, is I think one of the main focuses Wizards has on top of making money is that they're trying to become an American established company that everybody knows. So if you say Magic the Gathering, someone in the room knows it. And I think one of the big indicators that's part of the reasons when they did the fireside chat back in the day, and that whole guy at his drinking party mentions it to a friend, they knew what it was, even though they
well, hold on, it wasn't Magic the Gathering he was talking about.
No, it was D&D.
It was D&D, right?
Mm-hmm.
And most people have known D&D for a long time, whether it's notorious because back in the 80s it was considered satanic, and you know, it caused controversy. And there have been major D&D movie releases. It's supported by a lot of major Hollywood players, not just what's his name, the one that bought the One Ring.
I know, Post Malone.
Yeah, it's not just Post Malone, the one lone, you know, Hollywood known. In D&D, you have many known people. Vince Vaughn, you have, you know, just you have Vin Diesel. You've got so many other big names. The list goes on and on. With D&D, it is much more visible, right?
Right.
And Magic, unfortunately, what they've done is this is the golden goose. It's not D&D that makes them a shit ton of money. It's Magic.
Right.
And what they've done is they're pressing, you know, they're squeezing it for all they can get out of it as short a time as possible. I think that's dangerous for the long-term health.
Oh, sorry, James blames Tom Hanks.
Blaming him for what?
Because he was in that movie about D&D and being related to demonic stuff. Can't remember the name of the movie. It's like Mazes and Monsters or something like that.
No,
and it's about he got addicted to D&D, like and fucked with his mind and all that jazz. And like by the end, his friends had to get together with him and have a remission with him where they pulled him out of the D&D span because apparently that's what D&D can do to your brain. Okay, I can't explain it very well.
I would say Dungeons and Dragons worldwide is far more visible and a well-known product than Magic the Gathering is.
Right.
And I think by trying to make it so well-known rather than just, you know, keeping a good thing going, which is what they had prior to 2018. May not have been the highest grossing thing.
Right.
But it was on a stable, healthy trajectory. Right. And they saw that they could, wait a minute, we could, and I still don't think they really understand what they've done. Right. By killing everybody's collection that they've had for 25 years, by going back and doing the taboo of reprinting the bejesus out of every card that had any financial value,
Right.
That didn't only kill that collection, it kills the desire for people to want to collect into the future.
Right. 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 And not only that, like I think the direction Wizards is taking is offbeat. Like it's like they don't know their audience. Like
No, definitely not.
you know, they know Post Malone plays Magic. He's a millionaire. They know a famous football player plays Magic. He's a millionaire. And they've done stuff for them. They've done stuff for people who make a lot of money. Like you remember when the football player, I think it was Cassius Marshall, or maybe it was someone else who got their stolen
Cassius
collection.
Marsh is one of them.
Yeah, got their collection stolen out of their vehicle during training. So Wizards purposely, and I have quotes, because they announced it, replaced his collection with whatever new product they had.
Oh, I didn't hear about that, but
it was a big deal when it came out.
Clearly, you have people. I would be utterly shocked if I could sit down and play a game of Magic with Chris Cox or Cynthia Williams. I would just be astounded if they even understood how the game plays, if they have any concept of the secondary market. I think that, and all of us as player collectors, it was kind of what you were talking to and sort of leaning towards with the conversation this afternoon about how there's no clear line really between most players and collectors. It's something that sort of naturally occurs over a period of time once you're in the hobby.
Right.
And I was trying to say that, unfortunately, what I've seen, because of the hype, because of the money involved, because of all the flashiness, and YouTube content creators giving what I feel is a misrepresentation of what it really is to crack packs and boxes. They don't show the 25 crappy boxes that they opened on their own.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
There have been boxes I didn't put up, and I don't really even care that much because it was just so bad, and I was so sour while opening it. I'm like, that's not going to make good content.
Right.
People won't want to watch it and just like, ugh, F. They'll bail. But people get this misrepresented notion that they can make money, and unfortunately, they don't have the experience to recognize what a healthy interaction and what a good value is in Magic.
Well, that and the whole world has changed on YouTube. Because like when YouTube first started for Magic the Gathering, like when Magic the Gathering started becoming a thing on YouTube, it was all about deck techs. It was about learning little strategies. It was all about playing the game. Then you got some collectors coming on, one being Rudy, who became really big, and people going into that boat and showing off that side of Magic. And that started growing. And then we had these two things going on where you got like the collector on one end, you got the players at the other end, and in the middle you got people trying to incorporate a bit of everything. And I think that's really confusing the brand new market, because it's harder to search for what exactly you want as a new player or a new collector.
Well, I think a multitude of things have happened. And so that's why I just sort of broadly label it the ecosystem, because so many of the things that you mentioned are under that ecosystem umbrella. I think that the move towards big box stores, the Target and Walmart and Amazon romancing to increase their profit margins, has really punished the LGSs, which are an integral part. If you've been around long enough, you know that LGSs are an integral part of the ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
And I think they have been suffering probably the most out of everybody, because it's their livelihood.
And that goes into the idea that if the tree's roots are suffering, the whole tree is suffering. And I think that's kind of what's going on there.
I think that Arena was just a dumb idea from them. I'm sorry, because what it does is it gives people absolutely free and easier access to play Magic if they get that itch. They don't have to leave their house. They don't have to drop a dime, and they can play it, and they get to experience it, and it's free. Why would you pay for the cow when you get the milk for free?
Right.
And I think that has had a degree of hurting the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
I think that so many of the different things, like I even think that, in all honesty, now this might sound weird, collector and set boxes hurt the ecosystem because those are truly products for collectors, which they've screwed up the collector market, and it's what's now available to the players, right? So they don't have the entry level cheaper draft boxes anymore. Everything's
Right.
gone up greater than inflation rates in the community. They just do everything that they possibly can. I think the reprints ultimately hurt people because how long have you been opening Magic?
I've opened Magic since 2005.
Okay. So in 2005, do you ever recall going, wow, I got a great hit. I wonder how fast I can sell it?
Yeah, couple times,
No, I'm talking about in 2005.
Like when 2005 is all about looking for the cards for your decks and
okay, but that's what I'm saying. In 2005, how often did you open the pack or even hear people say, oh, wow, I got this killer card. Let me post it real quick and sell it.
Oh, yeah. No, I get what you're saying. No,
that didn't used to be the way that you looked at the cards and valued the sets. Now, and why do people say that now? Why are people so hot to get it to market as fast as possible?
Because no one's trading anymore.
No, because they're afraid of reprints. They're afraid that it's going to drop in value massively if they don't sell it right this minute.
Well, it's hard to trade cards anymore too.
Oh, sure,
yeah, but like even a few people I've met that go to my local game store here said trading's basically dead there.
Oh, sure, everywhere.
And so when you get someone to trade, that's really nice. But then how do you trade? It gets kind of difficult. When Hillbilly and I are trading, we're just looking through cards and I like that card, and we'll somehow end up with this fat stack of cards, and
oh yeah, their actions. It's not like they tried to kill trading, but I think killing trading is just a result of killing the collectability. This is what I'm saying. I don't think that the people at WotC, maybe Mark Rosewater does, but I'm going to tell you that poor guy, he gets a lot of shit. He really loves the game. He does. I can promise you. I've sat across and got to talk to him for 3 hours. He's a dork, a complete dork, and it was almost too nerdy for me, and I'm a giant nerd.
Right,
sitting there talking to him, but you could tell he was passionate about it, that he loved it, he understood it, he's knows it way better than I ever will.
Right.
So but he really isn't part of the financial aspect of it, right? Isn't really part of the management of the IP in a stewardship fashion. He's a creative process guy, not the finance guy. And the people that are in finance are the ones that either A, don't understand it, or B, don't care.
I want to say hello, Hillbilly. Welcome to the show.
What's up, everybody?
What's up?
Hey, Hillbilly.
Yeah, I got to run and get my vape real quick. That's why I shut my camera down. Be right back.
You're good. All right, so I see this thing here where Cosmic Seed 7-cent bulk rares are also her MTG. Well, I believe 7-cent bulk rares are both because of the internet and the pandemic era.
Actually, I'm gonna disagree with you on that. I think that's a result of multiple things. One, that they made way too many variants and tried to hype all the value into, like you were saying, only like one person that pulls the damn serialized cards get all the money for the whole set, right? So the money, it's like water, right? It has to move from one spot to another. So if you have all the water in one spot, it's a drought everywhere else, right? People only have so much money.
Well, I don't think you actually disagree with me 100% there, because what I'm about to say kind of explains some of the stuff you explained. What I'm saying is what I think internet and pandemic part hurt is during the pandemic, and the whole, for the sake of it, call it the Big Bang, when Magic got really popular and products started increasing. There's a lot of people teaching during the pandemic times and stuff how to flip cards and make money off cards, and that started becoming more popular. Well, I used to know the numbers, but there's how many people jumped on to TCG stores started selling other stuff. So now, to go along with what you're saying, what started as like less cards in the world of buying, selling, and trading on the internet, what was smaller is now increased because, like, it went from maybe 1 out of 10 people were selling magic cards to like 5 out of 10 people are selling magic cards. And what Wizards saw there is they were making selling product, and not only were players and collectors buying product, but resellers who became resellers started buying product. And so, because they were printing to demand for a while. And I think that was pushing all that product in there. And that's what made the $1 rare to a 7-cent rare, where not only were they meeting demand, the demand for the cards were not real and I'm just going to highlight the reseller was selling magic cards, like people, because there are people out there who just are in there for the game of buying and selling magic. When they started buying more into it and buying all the stuff to sell to the people who actually want to play it, those people were actually buying product too and opening up some of the cards. So you're right. The supply met more than the demand, but also the demand group, part of it was buying more supply than the demand itself as well.
Well, I think perhaps along with that, my bet is, and there's no way to know because they're so bad at transparency,
right?
I think they really opened up the taps and printed the bejesus out of products since 2019.
Right.
I think because it was much harder to get boxes even just 7 or 8 years ago.
Right.
It wasn't as easy to get cases and boxes and whatnot, even though they were cheaper. They just weren't truly available.
Yep.
Right. It just wasn't as easy to come by, even for supply and demand. It was too difficult. It's made it way easier. A lot of that's due to like online retailers and technology getting better, and even TCG Player and just all these different things that have led to just a flooding of the market of all products, of both sealed and singles.
And I think a lot of it ties back to, I don't think Wizards knows their audience. Because like I said, the people who are reselling just to resell, not to play the game, not to collect the game, but just to float in the money. And this does not include LGSs, because most owners who own LGSs play some form of Magic or something they sell. But this is just people who straight up saw the value in it, probably because of Logan Paul scenario or Post Malone scenario, but that was later than what I'm talking about. But like people saw that scenario that they can make money, make a side flip on it when they were buying straight from the distributors, and Wizards saw the numbers turning up. I think that really threw off the marquee of, we know who our audience is, because people are some of the people, and this could be a smaller group of people than I know, or it could be bigger, that are just in it just to flip back to the community of people who buy. But there
have always been those people, like
right. But I'm saying it grew. 90s. Right, but I'm saying that whole thing grew.
Oh, sure,
tremendously, and I think that's what made the whole thing lopsided for all of us when we talk about.
And there's a lot to go into that as well, like free government tendies for a while, and just the relaxation of getting credit cards that they have just absolutely pummeled the American public with. Mm-hmm. We have $30-something trillion in credit card debt in the United States. That is as much as the United States deficit. It's absurd how much debt we've allowed people to accumulate, and it's coming home to roost. Like, that's going to, in the next coming years, going to be problematic, which is why cash is king, because so many people are just, they have no wealth. Meaning, if you add up their debts with what they own, they're upside down. They're actually negative, and that's due to a lot of things, like, like I said, the credit cards, and they keep shifting the target because the government made, predatory lending practices, but now they've gotten around that by, it's not necessarily payday loans, but it's something similar. Oh, the buy now, pay later is not considered credit. And it's like a layaway sort of program, but you get the item up front.
They're doing that
you're
now.
seeing that get, spread out even in our environment, right? Like Magic's not immune to that.
I see that happening on Amazon and Walmart, where you can buy now and pay in 4 easy payments.
So again, it's and they'll keep the people that want to just get future money now, which is what credit card lending does. They're getting people's future money by lending them a little money now.
Right.
And they'll keep coming up with creative ways to basically put everybody into indentured servitude. And the way that we've looked at it is, oh, well, I'll just keep working. What I think is going to become far more prolific is wage garnishment.
Right.
I think that's going to become like even now, it's so bad. Even the president, like his latest thing, he tried to do student debt forgiveness. Wasn't that his big thing to get elected?
Right.
And now he's pushing some other bill that's not necessarily doing student loan forgiveness, but like student loan interest forgiveness. And like he keeps trying to push this. And what that's done is allowed them, if you're allowed to get as a college person, as a young person coming out into the world, and you're allowed to borrow an obscene amount of money that you should never be allowed to borrow.
Right.
And
right.
Get forgiven all of it or part of it even, that gives very bad precedence to younger people having this idea that they can get something now that they can't afford and are entitled to. And so they basically put off, responsible spending as a younger person so that they can buy Magic cards, right? I'll guarantee you that's part of what's happening in this ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's probably one of the ideas. If I can pay off this to the government, maybe I can spend more money on stuff I want.
Well, if they forget part of it, then guess what? Now they have more room to buy Magic cards. That's the way it goes, right? Oh, hell no. You don't want me as president, Cosmic Seeds. The whole country would be angry and miserable. I believe in austerity.
But yeah, you're right. But there's a lot of shift, and I think one of the things that we can keep tapping on that is because of the different dynamics that we talked about and how things kind of went lopsided is Wizards does not know their community.
One thing that's happened is the pandemic. When the pandemic happened, Wizards blew up. Now that the pandemic is over, they're still seeing that blow up spell that happened during the pandemic. And they're living on the pandemic, not in right time zone.
Yeah, I said that before, and I think to maybe rephrase what you're saying is, there were Black Swan events, including the Logan Paul thing with Pokemon, which is a trading card, boom for all of them, and then the pandemic that came along afterwards, where they gave away free money. I won't say who, but told me they were so sad when pandemic free money from the government ended, because it's more money than they made normally.
Right.
On like the unemployment thing, where they didn't just give out stimulus checks, it was like supercharged unemployment.
Yeah.
And all of that, it's like, look, all of us has heard of the ant and the grasshopper, right? Everybody knows that fable. And you realize that if you keep living like the grasshopper, someday, you're going to have to pay for it, right? We know that inherently, just even if we've never heard that fable. Yet we tend to ignore that in our actions when our id says, I want this. I deserve this because I exist and I need good things because I'm a good person, rather than looking at their finances and saying, whether I need it or not, whether I deserve it or not, I can afford it or not. That should be the deciding factor, not your emotions.
But we're an emotional society. My emotions.
You got a mouse in your pocket. You got actually most of the United States in your pocket. But it's absurd because I watch these things all the time. It's what I do. I watch a lot of financial situation videos all
Right.
day, believe it or not. And just the things that come out of people's mouths is it's absurd to me. Like the people that are getting their $8 lattes with $300,000 in college debt, but they say you can't take away my lattes because Mark Cuban had said basically, cut back your spending. Do you really need that $8 latte? Man, they crucified him on Twitter, I think, and the concept was they're entitled to those lattes and whether they can afford it or not. And it's the same thing with magic. It's the same thing with shoes, gold jewelry, hairdos, cars, you name it, houses. And, we've sort of lost our way with financial accountability, and we put it all on the government as a society. I don't say we as in me, but I say we as in a country.
Right, I know what you mean.
And what's crazy is you're putting this reliability and accountability on a government that's $37 trillion in debt. You want them to manage your money? I don't. They're terrible at it.
Yeah, but that way this country is now, it's government run, which has always been a government run, and you can't survive unless unless you have to, unless you depend on the government to take care of you.
I don't, but
I know, but that's
and what's going to happen is that gravy train comes to an end, whether we like it or not. Just like the gravy train for Magic's going to come to an end. Like you said, they're looking at the numbers that they got, and they're hungry for it from black swan events that happened almost back to back, and it's not a sustainable thing. Right? They're trying to produce and keep the ridiculous gains that they made during in a unsustainable period of time.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, because like I think what it comes down to is like when companies they make a certain amount for a certain amount of time, like a monthly quota, they try to beat their numbers year by year to go up every year, show the health of the company. I think that Black Swan event got into their heads. They're like, well, let's make more money than this every year. I'm like, how are you going to do that?
Amen, coach. And it's the same thing for WotC. Like, the reason I went so deep into the financial aspect in other ways is because I think it's relevant to like what WotC's doing and what we're seeing. And they also contributed. They leaned into that. They turned the screws. They made super special version of everything, and hype. Crossover sets with Lord of the Rings and secret lair drops and FOMO like crazy. Oh, we're going to print this to demand. This we're not going to print to demand. They confuse the audience intentionally. They're not transparent about anything, and I think they're playing with dynamite.
Oh, yeah,
they are, but it's a very fragile thing too, and like no matter how permanent something feels like it's going to be, but it's never.
Oh,
permanent.
Stop saying it, because that's what scares me the most. A lot of people call me negative, negative Bob Funny Pants, but it's actually scary to me that people keep saying, "Oh, it's too big to fail, can't fail." I don't believe that with anything, and I'm scared that the things that they've done, because it takes a long time to turn that ship, may have already done irreparable damage. Like, how do they get the people back that they chased away? It wasn't like a natural digression. It's not like people just naturally left after being in it for 25 years. We're seeing old collections for sale.
Right.
We're seeing things that never hit the market before.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear Rudy talk about it. You hear everybody that's involved with like collection buying. Go talk to your LGS. Things that just have never happened in the history of Magic before. You've chased those people away. I think it's pretty obvious the investors are pretty much gone. There's no meat on the bone.
Well, one thing I said a long time ago was what made Magic so unique in its structure back in the day, before pandemic era, let's just say that, was that Magic the Gathering had a natural grown community, a natural grown following, a natural grown game where it felt like Wizards knew what the beat was back in the day when we print a good product, people buy it. people know it's
Yes.
flexible, all that jazz. But when
Back
the
in the
pandemic
healthy
hit,
ecosystem.
then after the pandemic came out, it's like they tried fixing something that was never broke. They're like, how do we get more people to buy what we want and love what we want? Well, you know what happens when you give a kid a cookie every day? He doesn't appreciate the cookie every day.
Right.
Well, and then they get fat and they get diabetes and they die younger. Yeah, I know. I get it.
So that's what's kind of that's the struggle there is, because like we live in what I feel like is a society of people who just take, right? And it's easy, and it can be easy to be in that boat, and it can be easy to be in the right boat or the wrong boat. But like it's easy to be in that boat when you're take, when all they're doing is giving. But one thing one of my friends taught me was he didn't teach me this, but he taught me the story that even if something's given to you for free, and that's just metaphoric to the product, if something's given to you for free, someone paid for that product for you to have it, and someone put their time into the product to make that product for you to have it. And we live in the world that's kind of like that, even though we're not getting free magic cards except on Arena. We're getting this product that feel at the time feels good, but now it feels more curated and more fixed. Like, you know how it feels when someone's giving you something and you feel like there's a little extra behind it that makes you weary.
Yep. What's the
You
catch?
mean like your first bag of cocaine? Yeah, I know.
Right. That's what it kind of feels like. There's like a stipulation to everything now. And I think one thing that people are starting to realize as a community is that it's no longer the budget game it used to be. Now, Magic the Gathering has never been a budget game, budget wise, and one thing you said was you cannot get the EV back anymore that you used to back in the day. Nowadays, because the demand was too much for the printing, that no one's going to want the boxes. And I think when you go into a game like Warhammer, which is an expensive game too, you're kind of taught to think that you're going to lose your value as soon as that right out the box. But the cool thing is you get to paint the figures and get to play with them, whatever.
Yep.
Magic, there was the back of the day when the good times were rolling, you bought a box, you had chances to get more EV than the box was worth.
I would like to point out, Cosmic just made a couple of comments here, and a couple of them I'd like to comment on. I don't know that it's the worst decision that they made, but it is certainly a bad and just another one of the bad decisions that they made. I honestly believe it was to save money again.
Right.
And it feels disingenuous when they started back up again. I don't think the Pro Tour will ever have the allure that it once had.
Right.
I think that, it's not just the long-term Pro Tour players that quit, and they did, but it's the same thing with the because you don't really have long-term investors. Rare you have like a Rudy. It's not common that people have, Urza Saga boxes still sitting around out there.
Right.
Usually people try to flip them within 5 years. I think there will be a ton of them coming out in probably about 10 to 15 years with this era of Magic boxes that they're sitting on. I want to get back to that in a second. But they lost the long-term collectors, right? And the long-term collectors is what causes the investors, and the players benefit from that interaction.
Right.
But if you killed the collectors and scared away the investors, ultimately there's no reprieve for the players that want to have legit Magic cards. I highly recommend proxying, so I think the whole thing's kind of moot. And on top of that, we're seeing something. If you don't know something's off, like older seal product, if you've ever paid attention, only ever went in one direction, up. We have now seen older product, and I'm looking specific. Like I keep eyeballing for Ice Age, which is holding pretty steady at about 1,000. It got up to about 1,500. But I'd like to have a box of Ice Age. It really speaks to me to have the Ice Age box. I have a starter deck, but I'd like a draft box of it. But I've been watching because people are talking about now. There's rumblings, and you kind of discussed it a little bit. Older product like Fallen Empires.
Mhm.
Those boxes got up near $1,000. They're already back down to $500 a box.
Whew.
Right? That's something you never saw in the past before.
Right.
Was this degradation, like even like Stronghold? I think I saw a box of Stronghold for like $7,000. I'm like, okay, that was getting up there like $12,000 a box.
Wow.
and like Legends, I think I saw when it back down to 35,000. I know at M30 when we went out to Vegas, they were like $75,000 for the boxes. What they were asking.
That's a lot.
And so we're seeing this. People are calling it a normalization. I'm doing that in air quotes. But what's happened is people are realizing that the product in those older boxes are just reprint targets. If there's anything of any value they can reprint in those boxes, they're going to, and they have done.
You know, was it last week? It was the hardest pill I ever had to swallow after you said that to me the first time.
What's that?
Like they'll reprint cards. They'll find a card you wouldn't think they would reprint, and they'll reprint it.
Of course they will.
They did. They sure did. They reprinted overwhelming forces for no goddamn reason.
Watch your potty mouth there, sir. Don't you say dag blag it. But yeah, I mean, like the one that really sticks out in my mind of all the reprints, you would never guess it. And it's because I just thought it was a really neat thing. There is a white tree swamp from Portal.
Mm-hmm.
The first Portal. It's just the basic land. It was really sought after, and it was up to like $10, $12. So I went and checked, and I think I have one. Like, I pulled one back in the day. And if you look in Dominaria Remastered, the art from that in one of the retro borders is that white tree swamp from Portal art, right? Like, talk about something that absolutely did not need a reprint, right?
Right.
They shameless, like, if that doesn't prove that they're just targeting shit you just never even knew had a value to it. Right? You know how many people, did either of you two know that there was a valuable swamp in Portal? And now I think that card went down to like $2 or $3.
Wow. Well, I know for sure that some of the older basic ones have value to some of them, so I did know that. But I just, but I didn't know about the white tree swamp.
None of the other Portal lands were worth more than $1. That one was like 12, right? And it was like that's the one land out of that set that they targeted. And it was just something I thought was neat that I had one, right?
Right.
And it was like, oh my, there's nothing sacred is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Nothing.
Not even more.
Reprint absolutely anything that they can.
Like Overwhelming Forces was a card back in the day from I can't remember exactly what set. I had a horsemanship.
That Portal 3 Kingdoms.
Okay, so Portal 3 Kingdoms, all right. Then they made a judge promo of it when Commander was kind of new and it was sought after. Then never saw a reprint for years. 4 years. No one was asking for it. It's not as powerful in Commander as it used to be. It's kind of lame. And they printed it and they reprinted it and Outlaws of Thunder Junction. It was like their newspaper card. I'm like, what? Like, I made a whole big deal about it. I'm like, why are you reprinting this? No one is asking for this.
Well, they're doing it with a lot of cards. Like we were talking. Oh, what's the one that they just did? It was like a 30-cent card, and it's in the special reprint border here for Outlaws of Thunder Junction. I'm like, what? Why?
Right?
What? Like, why does a 30-cent card need a reprint?
I don't know. Like, it just makes no sense. Like, some of the choices, like, it's pretty bad when some of the choices they're making make no sense.
Honestly, I think they're just running out of reprint equity, like, rapidly.
Yeah. Right. I think they're just, I agree. I think they're just out of ideas, out of what kind of cards they can make. So they just go on a reprint spree.
Look, I'm gonna love Magic till the day I die, even if I stop loving the new stuff. I know, so I'm just hoping that we recover well from it. And I hope.
Well, let me ask you this. Everybody
Uh-huh.
keeps saying that. What makes you think, oh, Jesus, that swamp went, it's $1.70 now, and it went up to, it was worth $50 at one point.
Wow.
But at the time it was reprinted, it was only like a $7 card, I think.
Right.
No. At any rate, what makes you say that?
Well, because
What makes you say
my
that there's
history with
going
it.
to be a recovery?
Well, I said if there's a recovery. Yeah, like
That's what scares me. And like I tell people all the time, I don't know anything. I'm just looking at this like everybody else is. I might be
Right.
looking at a bit more data than most, but
right.
I'm just, I don't want to say I'm necessarily guessing,
Hmm.
because I feel it's more like analysis than guesswork, but it
More,
could certainly change. And we don't have all the information, right?
no.
There's so many things that we just don't have access to. Like we use TCG sales, we lean into that far too much. Like it's the only retailer out there for stuff.
Mhm.
And they're not. Like, it's there are a lot of other retailers for Magic the Gathering. I hate to say it, but there just are.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of other retailers for other games in comparison to Magic. So we really don't know if Pokemon is bigger than Magic. We really don't know if Lorcana's not charging up that hill rapidly. We
Right.
just don't know because we can't collate enough of the data. We're using one instance as the authoritative rule, and that is a bad idea.
That's best to get the most information from most possible sources. I mean, then you can see the similarities between multiple different places.
Well, right now, Magic is like a sword with a scab on it, and it's not going to heal if they keep pulling that scab off of that sword.
Right.
And with all these reprints, ones that don't need to be reprinted, all that is doing is picking the scab off the sword.
Well, but they don't see it that way. This is
No,
what we've been talking about, that they just
exactly.
don't understand their product or their audience. And to that answer, Coach, what do I like better? Revised. What do I think makes more sense to me? Considering there were hundreds of thousands of every card in Revised, there are literally some cards in Magic 30th that, based on the estimates, if we're talking about 25,000 or less boxes made, that it's rarer than Alpha, and that there's some of those I calculated based on the numbers I was looking at, like the retro bordered of some of these. There's less than 40 copies in existence,
Mhm.
or right at 40 copies. So does that mean, like when you say better, that's a difficult question to answer. The community appears to be far more sour currently on
Mhm.
30th anniversary, but a lot of people either don't remember or conveniently forget that there were a lot of things that people were sour about. Guess what? People were sour about Revised. People were sour about any white bordered cards. They
Right.
didn't like them. They hated them back in the day.
Mhm.
People hated Alpha because of the weird corners that you couldn't play them in tournaments. So,
Right.
and now Alpha is the most expensive. So it's funny what time's going to do. We can't say. And
All right.
being a betting man, or if I were a betting man, I don't plan on selling that. I like having a very rare thing in my collection. I don't plan on ever selling it, or even the ones that were given to me, because it's
Right.
something. How many? Raise your hands if you have a box of M30. I can. And
Right.
I basically have 2 boxes worth. How many people, even if they have M30, how many people have 2 boxes worth? I doubt very many people. Most people that bought them have opened the damn things.
Right.
So yes, it's very, very low cosmic seed. So people are angry about it now, especially with all the content creators. For like, I'm still trying to puzzle out how M30 is to blame for all of Magic's current woes.
The M30 is not. To me,
Like,
it was a woe, but it wasn't the reason why we're going
how did it
downhill
affect
now.
you personally?
It, it was a woe for the game. That's
No,
all.
well, how did M30 affect
Oh,
you,
no,
Tortoise,
no. The M30
at
does
all?
not affect anybody personally. Like
Okay,
it did do nothing
but
for
let me
the
ask you
game.
this. Hold
It
on.
did do
Let me
nothing
ask you
against
this.
the game. What?
Oh, okay, so you answer that question. Would you agree, Hillbilly? What impact did M30 have on you personally?
None really.
Okay, let me ask you both this. And now this is going to apply to so many more people out there. Like, so many people are angry about it, but it has zero impact on them personally. But let me ask you, it is a scapegoat. And I really hate when I hear content creators keep ringing that bell like that's what the problem is. And not because I don't like the product. I just knew it was super rare, so I bought it.
Mhm.
I don't think it should ever existed, but I'm like, okay, that's stupidly
Right.
rare. I'm going to get some. But when they keep pointing out that M30 is to blame for all the woes, I won't call people out on your channel. And people keep talking about it almost every stream that they're on. You know, that hides the real problem, right? It masks where we should be angry and what we should be looking at. Like,
Right,
oh,
right.
okay, yeah, rah, burn Magic 30, but that doesn't fix the current woes and why things keep changing. I mean, it was a product that was only available for 30 minutes ever in the history of Magic.
Right. It was 30
That's
minutes.
absurd. It is so small. It's the smallest print run of any set ever. It is up to, we won't know for sure because they won't release the numbers, but if 25,000, which is what I'm going with, and we only really theoretically know about 12,000 boxes were produced, like 10,000 were given to LGSs and 2,000 were sold during that 30 minutes. And of the 12,000 boxes, 10,000 were given away for free.
Right.
Okay, so the lion's share, 80% of the product was given away for free. How is that impacting Magic?
I don't
And
know.
they say, oh, well, it broke faith. With who?
I
How
don't.
many people have alpha cards and beta cards to begin with? Very few. Now, let me ask this. Have reprints hurt either of you personally?
Reprints haven't hurt me, but they've hurt my collection.
Okay, have they affected you? Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, they have. And you
Have
know
any
this. We
reprints
talked about my
affected you,
kids.
Hillbilly?
No, because I'm not much of a collector.
Okay. Well, someday with some of the cards you have behind you, whatever you see that has value, and they reprint that Joker and it goes to poop, it will affect you.
Oh yeah.
So let me ask you this. How many more people were affected by reprints, rampant reprints, and overprinting, and Amazon drops, and all of the things that they're doing to have 0.0 to do with M30 affecting the Magic population?
Just like
pointing to M30.
Yeah, just like the three card. Yeah, just like the three cards you see behind me. They're on the wall right here behind me because they're worth a little bit of money. We got WCs, Warren Collects, Monstrous Raider, and Sword of Feast and Famine.
Okay, and when they reprint those down to $10 a piece, how are you going to feel?
I'm going to be mad.
Okay, it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. I know it's going to happen because that's what Wizards does.
So what did M30 have to do with any of that?
Nothing.
Right.
All right. I have to close the show down. It's past my time to be on. Screen. Got to get some stuff done around the house really quick. I want to thank you guys for showing up and having a good conversation. Thank you, Gabe and Bob, for joining up and being awesome. And Hillbilly for jumping on. Thank you, everybody in chat. Cosmic Seeds, Coaches Magic, James Willis, everybody jumped on the train. Thank you for joining and having fun. You guys have a wonderful day. And if my mouse will work, Megatron.
Shockwave! What is your command, Megatron?
Subscribe for Magic the Gathering and other content for evil fun.